Okay, so today we are going to be looking at this question of the white tiger. Now, can I please remind you guys, when you are writing your essays, what should you do with the title? Underline. Good. Not inverted commas. Inverted commas are for short stories and newspaper articles. For a novel, we underline. Okay, so the topic is the exploitation of the poor is the real tragedy in the white tiger. What do we first do with an essay topic? What do we do? Keywords. Good. We find our keywords. So, what are the keywords? Exploitation. Good. That is definitely an important word. Poor. Yep. Tragedy. Real tragedy. Good. Now, the really important word that everything hinges on, that lots of people will ignore, is that word. It is the real tragedy. Okay? Implying that there are other tragedies, but this one is the most important. Okay? That the exploitation of the poor is actually the real tragedy. It's the most important one. Okay, so once I have worked out that, now I have to work out how I feel about the question. So, how do I feel about the question? Do I agree? Do I agree that the exploitation of the poor is the real tragedy that Adiga is trying to talk to us about? Jane's nodding, and that's okay. I think that's a great response. So, Jane's saying, yes, the exploitation of the poor is the real tragedy in this text. It's the real thing that they're trying to show us. Yeah, I think so too. All right, so we're going, yes. Yeah, you definitely could. So, actually, let me get a better pen. Draw. Yeah, boy. All right. So, we're saying yes. Ooh. We're saying yes, we agree with the statement. All right, so tell me. Okay, so tell me why should I agree? Why should I agree that the exploitation of the poor is the real tragedy? Why is it so tragic? Good. Okay, so the exploitation of the poor in the white tiger shows what? How corrupt India is. Yeah? Shows how corrupt India is. Because the one thing that you don't want to do in an essay is try and cover too much in one paragraph. You want to cover one idea per paragraph. Okay, so then you can do them justice. What Tim's talking about is kind of like two ideas. So he wants to talk about how corrupt India is and how it causes people to throw away their morals, right? That's actually two ideas. So what I would be better off doing is doing a paragraph on how corrupt India is, and then another paragraph on and it causes people to forego their morals. Because then I can do both ideas justice. Whereas if I do them together, I'm not going to do either of them any good. Okay, so let's take, and luckily I need 3 paragraphs, so I could probably actually just go and do another paragraph, another yes paragraph saying the exploitation of the poor encourages the poor to, what would you say, not throw away. Throw away is too like casual. What could I say instead of throw away? Disregard their morals in order to survive, don't they? They do it just to survive. They're not even like gaining huge things from it. Like Kusum, you know, she acts really immorally, but like she's just doing it to survive. Like otherwise she'll starve. Just to survive. Now, also keep in mind with your essays, you don't have to talk about everything that you know. Please don't try and talk about everything. Have 3 really great ideas that you explore and assume that I know that there are other things you could have talked about as well, but you do not have the time. Okay, you pick your 3 best ideas. Okay, so this is going to be 1 paragraph. This is going to be another paragraph. Which one do you think is a stronger argument? Second one? Now, there's no wrong answer here. There's no wrong answer. So Brandon might write, the exploitation of the poor shows how corrupt India is, and then write how the exploitation of the poor encourages the poor to throw away their morals. That might be his order. Yours might be the other way around. It doesn't matter, but you put your strongest argument first. Okay?
Why?
Well, I guess there's 2 reasons. One, because you want to convince someone from the get-go that you're correct. You know, so you want to have your strongest argument, so everything else is just oh yeah, and also you're right because of this. But the other reason is, God forbid you not get time to write all 3 of your arguments, then at least you've got your best ones out first. Yeah? So, I'm going to go 1 and 2 just because I wrote it that way. And then exploitation of the poor is the real tragedy. Now, let's explore this word real. We haven't explored that word yet. We've explored exploitation, we've explored poor, and we've done tragedy, that these things are really sad. What we haven't explored is the real tragedy. And I think here it gives us a real opportunity to go, hey, but there are other tragedies too. There are other tragic elements of this text that we see. Yeah? So what's another tragic element? Knowing that I understand that there are more tragic elements that you would like to talk about, but we only have so much time. We only have 90 minutes to write this bad boy, so we'll write what we can. So, what would you say is another tragic element of this text? The powerlessness, yeah? Are we going to have too much overlap? You should be okay. Another tragedy that we see in the, I shouldn't say we, that the reader is exposed to, because we never say we, by the by. Don't say we. This is a urine-free zone. There is no we, there is no us. There is the reader, but there is no we or us. Urine-free. Okay? Keep that for your nappies. Another tragedy is that the reader is exposed to the true powerlessness. Am I going to overlap, though? The exploitation of the poor. I feel like there's going to be too much overlap. Okay, what else are we exposed to that's really sad? That you read and you go, oh, that's so sad. It's such a tragedy. It's such a sad thing that happens in India. Good. Am I going to have overlap, or am I going to be okay? I feel like I'm going to be okay because I'm not going to necessarily talk about... It's similar to the first one, and it's...
All of them are similar to each other.
How about if I do another tragedy exposed is like people who stick by their morals are the ones that lose out most in India. It's kind of the opposite of the second one, which makes a nice flow, doesn't it? Otherwise, I could explore things like, it's the most vulnerable of the poor that really lose out. So like the child that gets hit by Pinky Madam, and like Vikram who works the hardest job. Like there's lots of things that we get introduced to that are tragedies in this story. So why don't we say it is the truly vulnerable? Like it's the most vulnerable who lose the most in India. Is that it is the most vulnerable that lose out in India. is going to be my paragraph 3. Yeah? Ta-da! That is how you should spend your first 5 to 10 minutes of the SAC. Doing that. Doing what we just did then. Now, obviously, that's taken us longer. It has taken us 10 minutes so far, but obviously doing it as a class does slow things down somewhat. Okay? But that is invaluable. Even if you just leave it there, it's invaluable because it means that you're not writing kind of off the top of your head. You already know the destination of your essay. Okay? The next thing that you can do is then just start, if you've kind of like spent 5 minutes and you've got your ideas and you're good to go, I would just start kind of jotting down what my argument, what my evidence would be. So exploitation of the poor in the White Tiger shows how corrupt India is. What could I use? What am I going to talk about? Maybe Butler, yeah? What's that? Yep. Okay, Balaram taking the blame for the accident. Yep. And I could even use that quote, Delhi's prisons are full of them. Yep. Because he kind of shows us that it's like, this is something that happens all the time, which I think is really useful. What else are we going to talk about? Because I think per paragraph you should have about 2 pieces of evidence per para. Yep. Jess? Yes, when he stamps the guy into the ground, yeah. VJ stamps the... And he's a rickshaw driver too, isn't he? He's another rickshaw driver, so we know he's kind of like pretty low on the scale. VJ stamps the rickshaw driver into the ground. Yep. Okay, I'll just move this a little bit so you can read it a bit better, hey? There we go. All right. So my second argument is the exploitation of the poor encourages the poor to disregard their morals just to survive. All right, so who can I talk about there? Yep. Good, yeah, because like he's not getting paid. Like what else is he supposed to do? Just starve? Like what's the point? He's worked, he should get paid. Sorry, I'm just trying to like get this to write. There we go. The teacher taking the uniforms to sell because he isn't getting paid. Yeah, good. What's another instance where we see that? Yep.
Actual character of VJ.
Okay. So VJ's ascent. Do you guys know that word? Ascent into the higher ranks by letting people dip their beak into him. How else does he rise up through the ranks? What else does he do? DJ. Oh, he does the stamping, but I've already talked about that. Oh, he's obviously like the middleman for bribes and stuff. Being a middleman for bribe taking for the great socialist. I'm just going to write GS because this is my notes and it doesn't matter. Oh, that's looking hard to read, isn't it? Let me just play around for a minute. Hey. Maybe if I make this smaller, hey. Okay, that's better. Alright, so I've got my 2 pieces of evidence there. Now, can you see how, because I'm structuring this through ideas and not through characters, see how I'm talking about so many more interesting things? Like, this is a way more interesting essay than writing Balaram is exploited, Kusum is exploited, Ashok is exploited. Like, that's a boring essay. This is an interesting essay. And I'm talking about minor characters, which they love. It's good to talk about Balaram, it's good to talk about Ashok, but it's good to talk about minors as well. All right, so my last point is another tragedy is that the reader is exposed to is that it is the most vulnerable that lose out in India. How can I prove that? How do we know that it is the most vulnerable? Yeah? Good. Yeah. Vikram dies of TB in the hospital because there is no doctor. Good. Yep, and they're too poor to go to a decent hospital. Thank you. What's another one? Where we go, the most vulnerable are the ones that lose out. What about the child that gets hit by Pinky Madam? No one even cares. No one even cares. No one even pays a bribe to their family. Like, Pinky tries to get them to go and find the family so they can give them money. And, like, they're like, why? Why would you bother? No one cares. The street child who dies as a result of Pinky's accident. Nobody reports his or her death. We don't know. Yeah, no one reports the death because she's a street child. No one cares. Accident. There we go. Cool. Look, essay done. Bing. It's taken us, well, I would say I'd probably be able to do that solo in like 10, maybe 15 minutes. Right? That time is not wasted time. Because now, basically that's my whole essay planned. And now I've just got to smash it out. I've just got to write it. I don't have to think. It's all there. Definitely worth planning. If you do not plan, you are a full Harry Potter and you will lose.
How many minutes do we get exactly?
You get 90 minutes, which is heaps of time. You know, in the Year 12 exam, we expect you to write an essay an hour. And that's including planning. So you can do this. Things that I would keep in mind with essay writing is evidence and explanations. Don't forget to use specific evidence. Don't just kind of go, Balaram always does this. It's like, no, tell me specifically when it happens. When do we see him do that specifically? Another big thing is explain your evidence. And in fact, if you have a look over there, I'll pull it up on the board as well. I have this thing that I call the 4 questions of evidence. Where is it? It's in my meme folder. That's right, I have a meme folder. Doesn't everybody? Let's see. Da-da-da, here it is. Okay, so every time you do explanations, if you find that, hands up if when you get your essay back it says, there's not enough depth. There's no depth in this essay. Yes, that's something that you get told all the time. Yeah, this is a way that you can get depth in your essays. These 4 questions. Okay. What does this evidence show? So tell me specifically what it shows. How does it show it? So what about this evidence shows that? So if you're saying this evidence shows that Balaram is selfish, well, how does it show that he's selfish? What about what happens shows that he's selfish? Be specific. What is the author saying by showing this? So if, again, you're showing that Balaram's selfish, what is the author saying by showing that he's selfish? And then how is this relevant to your argument? Why is showing me that Balaram's selfish relevant to what you're arguing? Make sense? So if you are somebody who is sick of hearing that they need more depth, maybe use these 4 questions. I will send them to you, and that way you can practice with them. I'm just trying to think of the other things that are kind of common problems. Mainly, the main problem at year 11 is that you're not using TEAL structure. Well, you think you know how to use TEAL, and you don't. Look at the video. I teach you how to use it. Try and use it. Send me a draft. I will tell you whether you're doing it properly. If you're not, I will show you what to do. Essays are easy. They are so formulaic. You just need to learn the formula. If you don't learn the formula, that's not my fault. I lead horses to water. I can't make them drink. The tools are there. You can use them as you will. Right. We have 10 minutes. Do you want to do another question? Yeah? All right. Let's pick another question. Don't worry. I'm going to email you this PowerPoint so you'll have all the stuff. Yeah, and the video. That's why I filmed it. I know. It's like I think about these things before I do them. That's so clever. Which question would you like to do? Oh, let's do one of these. Let's do... Well, we haven't done symbolism. I thought I'd do that tomorrow. How about crafted the novel to encourage the audience to take Balaram's side? I like that because that's a bit controversial. I love a bit of controversy. All right. So, the question is, how has Adiga crafted the novel to encourage the audience to take Balaram's side? Well, first off, let's pick out our keywords. What are our keywords in that question? Encourage. What else? Balaram's side, that we're encouraged to take Balaram's side. Crafted the novel, good. That wants us to talk about text construction. So how the text is actually put together. Okay? Lots of people won't pick this question because they're like, oh, it's too hard. It's talking about text construction. Text construction questions are the best ones to pick. 1, because you got less competition, but 2, because they already kind of tell you exactly what to write about. And that's a nice thing. You don't have to think as much. And I'm always a fan of thinking less. So it's saying, how have we been crafted to take Balaram's side? First off, do you think we have been encouraged to take Balaram's side? You don't think so? No? Kind of? Maybe?
He's shown, but he's also shown all the hardships that Balaram's gone through, and he's gone in depth with that.
Well, why don't we do a yes and no? We can do a yes and no. Okay, so let's go with Tim first. Tim said yes because the reader has been exposed to Balaram's childhood, like his, yeah, that's it, Balaram's struggles through his childhood, and even like as a servant, yeah, like even as an adult, and as a servant. And what effect does that have? Yeah, we feel sympathy, so that the reader feels a sense of sympathy when we get to the point where he's killed Ashok. That we don't kind of condemn him for killing Ashok because we're like, yeah, well, what do you expect? He kills Ashok. Okay. Why else, or why not? How else are we encouraged to take his side? I've got one big text response kind of thing. Whose voice do we hear? Balaram is telling us this story. He's the narrator. So because he's the narrator, what does Balaram actually do? When he tells our story, is he reliable? Good. So Adiga gives the reader a biased narrator who portrays events in a more sympathetic light. Yeah? Okay, why do you say no, he doesn't encourage us to take his side? Or do you want to say, yes, he does? Do you want to say another yes? We could say more yeses. We could say another no. It's up to you. People who said no, why do you say no? Benito, why do you say no?
I reckon yes.
Okay, so why?
Well, I reckon yes. I think for an example, I agree with the statement written there. Like it just makes the reader feel all the action in his life just make the reader feel. Yeah, I can't really.
Yeah, that you can understand why he does the things he does. Yeah.
Not all of the things are labeled, but some could be to some people. Not that you're shrinking across the people, but like, I don't know, his way that he builds things or tries to get through or strives for success.
I feel like that's going to fall into our narrator thing, that like we hear his like feelings and like we hear how he feels and so we kind of can connect to it. Does that make sense? If you wanted to say no, if you did want to put a no, you could also put the no in terms of that he has Balaram commit this horrendous act that we don't see as like vital. It's not vital that he kills him. There are other ways. Even though Balaram says there was no other way, we kind of see like it's to kill someone is a horrendous thing to do. Yes.
I feel like when he does do the murder, it's like his attitude about it too, like how he says it was revenge. He got revenge early for his family, when he knew that as soon as he did that, his family would be the ones that condemned for it.
Good, yeah. His attitude of no remorse, like cements this kind of idea that we're not on his side. Love it. Love it. All right, so we came up with, for this one, we've said, how has Adiga crafted the novel? Don't pack up. I'm not done with you. Don't worry. I'll let you know when I am. How has Adiga crafted the novel to encourage the audience to take Balaram's side? So the first paragraph, we're saying Adiga spending all this time talking about Balaram's past, giving us all this backstory on Balaram, encourages us to have a sense of sympathy. Adiga also gives us a first-person narrator that is incredibly biased, who portrays events in a sympathetic light, and we hear about his feelings, which makes us connect with him. But we're saying, but even though both of these things are true, Adiga still chooses to have Balaram commit murder, because remember, this is not a true story. This is all... I'll just wait. This is all a construct by the author. So he chooses to get Balaram to murder his master. And so that encourages us to believe that his actions are wrong. And his attitude of no remorse, like Daniel was saying, cements this idea that we shouldn't actually condone what he's done. Make sense? So I'm going to send you these two, plus the video. You're welcome. Next lesson we're going to talk about symbols, and we're going to do some work on that. Please, Jesus, write an essay. Just an intro and a paragraph. So I can say, yes, Paul, you know what you're doing. You go. You're fab. Or, dear Jesus, we need to sit down together sometime. Can we make some time? Okay? Please write something. Otherwise, I can't help you. Farewell. Bye.